Okay. Let me. Okay. That was interesting, but let me see. Okay. I think it's up now. So save. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, but sorry, my Wi-Fi failed on me, and so I had to restart the live, and so there's 2 of them now, but let me see if I need to go to the old one and this is going great. um, okay, let me see if I can end this one first. Okay, sorry about that Wi-Fi mix-up. If you still have questions, you can definitely put it in the chat now, and I'll keep answering. But that was an interesting Wi-Fi situation. It's still up, and I don't know why. I don't know how to take it down, but yeah, we'll figure it out later. But yeah, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I hope I can see the chat. Okay, there we go. Hi. Okay, thankfully, I think most people are back, but I'll just go straight into answering questions. But Faith asks, as far as touring the campus before classes, is there group tour scheduled, or are we expected to do that independently? To my knowledge, we don't have any group tours like planned yet, but especially with like your RA and stuff, we do plan a lot of events like that in the beginning of the year because we know, it's nice to get a campus tour just because you don't know everything yet. You will have to do some of it independently if your RA decides not to do like a campus tour with everyone or something. But if that's something you're interested, your RA will definitely probably put out like an interest form or something like that, or ask like if there's any events that you would like. And so you can definitely mention that because it's an easy event to do and plan for you guys. But yeah, you can definitely ask around. I don't know if there's gonna be any going on like during welcome week and stuff, but I will definitely look into that. Yeah, nothing's like set in stone yet for like events in terms of welcome week, I don't think. So I don't quite know yet. But once I get more information, I will let you know. But How much time would you say on average did you spend on schoolwork on the weekends? Um, it's hard to explain. I personally, especially my first semester, I was insanely busy. Like if I look at my Google Calendar from that time where I would like schedule out every single hour of like every single day because I had so much crap going on. Um, it was definitely a lot of time, but it wasn't solely on schoolwork. It was just a matter of me having to like balance the fact that I do YouTube. It does take me quite a while to edit stuff. I have to find the time to record everything. I had my Etsy still going on, and packing orders does take me quite a while. And I was actually also working at Starbucks part time. Bad choice. I lost so much time. But because of that, I definitely had less time than most people. But I'd say specifically schoolwork on the weekends in the beginning of the semester, I'd say I definitely spent like probably like 5 hours at least on like a Saturday, and then maybe like 4 hours on a Sunday. I don't know if that sounds like a lot or a little, but it also depends on if you have like a class on Monday or something, just because I personally did. And so it was a really hectic schedule that I had. But yeah, so weekend times were definitely like still a lot of homework doing. But then later on, once I got transitioned and got used to my classes and essentially like figuring out like what the bare minimum to do is, I definitely spent less time on the weekends doing my homework and more times just like during the weekdays. Uh, but yeah, I don't know if that helped. But yeah, it did. I don't know. Maybe I just had a really rough transition, but I was very busy all the time. So if that means anything to you, but yeah. Anything else? I can like go into other stuff. I don't know if the people are here, but I did get a lot of requests for like talking about MassHealth and explaining like how to waive the health insurance through that. As in also just like what to bring to campus and things like that. So if no one has any more like specific questions, definitely can answer those, but definitely keep the questions coming if you have any. But yeah, for yeah, I think I'm just gonna talk about at least what to bring. Oh, kind of random, but can we bring electric kettles? To my knowledge, I think like like a water kettle boiler thing, electric one. I think it may be allowed. I know for sure coffee machines are allowed, so like a Keurig, Keurig. Um, yeah, but I don't. I'll have to get back to you on that. I think it is, but if not, I mean, but at the very least, a Keurig is allowed. I feel like if a Keurig is allowed, you're probably allowed an electric water kettle. But sorry, just curious about MassHealth. Yes. What? Actually, sorry. Give me a second, Catherine. I'm just going to answer this one other question first. Faith asks, "What type of appliances are allowed?" Um, Not much, to be honest. If you want a fridge or a microwave, you do need to get a micro fridge. If you haven't looked into that yet, I definitely would, because yeah, those sell out pretty quickly. I don't know if they even have any left even now. So if you want a microwave, need to get a micro fridge, and that's the only way you're allowed to have a microwave in your dorm. But if you don't get a microwave, you are allowed a mini fridge. I think there's some like size restrictions, um, but at that point, and so yeah. But then pretty much everything else, not really. Um, you're definitely not allowed to have like a hot plate or like an air fryer or anything like that, but you are allowed the Keurig, possibly an electric kettle. Um, yeah, maybe if it shuts off automatically, it's allowed. Maybe. Hi, Mr. Bangle. um, um, okay, and then sorry, Crown Me Tina says, "Have you been in Midtown Hotel? If so, how's that?" It's with my dorm. I haven't been in it specifically because we weren't allowed to until like the end of the semester of spring semester, but I wasn't on campus my spring semester. But I've heard it can be half and half because some of the rooms it still has like what they had previously as a hotel, and so some of like the beds and stuff are like queen sized and things like that, and so it can be nice. But some of the other ones they have replaced the furniture with like Northeastern like beds and things like that, and so it really depends. Um, I'm pretty sure at the very least you have AC, which is kind of nice, and maybe a private bathroom, but I'm not too sure. So, and then where do we rent a micro fridge? There is, here, I'll find the link and put it in the chat right now. But there's a form that you have to fill out with like, let's see. Yes. Okay. So the link that I'm putting in right now into the chat, if you go into that, like one of the first vendor information and links thing is the microfridge rental and purchase information. You do have to fill out a form to get it, like with your room and stuff. But the nice thing about getting a microfridge is that once you put in your room number and everything like that, they deliver it to your room for you and then take it out at the end of the year. So you don't have to worry about it at all. And then as far as decorating, are we allowed to hang things if it's using a command strip? You are allowed a command, like you're allowed to use command strips as long as they don't like take off the paint and stuff. If it does, a lot of your RAs will help you like figure out what to do with that so that you don't get like a fee. Honestly, I don't know what happened with my dorm because I came home for winter break and then I ended up staying without actually thinking I was. And so I asked my roommates to like clean out my dorm for me. And they said it was hard to take off the because I didn't use command strips because I wanted something that could deal with like heavier things. And I found these random things on Amazon that were basically command strips but stickier. And they said they had a hard time taking it off, so they just left it. I don't remember if they like ever got it off, but I didn't get penalized. So, but yeah. Also, if you're interested, I just recently found out that LED strip lights are actually allowed because they don't emit heat or something. So if you were thinking about that, fairy lights are still technically not allowed though. And then Shivy, sorry if I say any of your names wrong. And then Devansh wanted a shout out. But Shivy, sorry. Tips for navigating campus. Honestly, it's all about just like walking around and like doing stuff, whether it's going to Curry and eating or going to like each of the dining halls and like kind of like basically repeating those things just so that you get used to it. Honestly though, once you start classes, especially because it is in person this year and so you have to like actually walk to your classes, you will get the hang of it really quickly. But I would definitely scope out like the locations of your classes beforehand, especially before the first day of classes, especially if you have a class that's like 5 minutes in between the other class, because you're going to want to like know where it is. I got lost on my first day of classes and it was in between like one of my back-to-back classes where I had 5 minutes in between to walk to the next class. It was super stressful, and it is really hot in Boston right now, so I definitely recommend scoping it out first. But you will get used to it just from like walking around, definitely hanging out with your friends and stuff and like doing things together, grabbing a meal, and just like, yeah, honestly, just walking around will help you get used to it. And yeah, it's just a matter of like time, really. But sorry, that probably wasn't really helpful. But Olivia, do you have any favorite places to eat or study around / on campus? In terms of eating, just because they take dining dollars, I really do like Poke Station and Bangkok Pinto. One, because they're the Asian options that take dining dollars, but two, because they take dining dollars and everyone should at the very least be on a 12 meal plan as a first year. So you do get like 200 or like something like that dining dollars where you can use it to buy food. So I think you can actually use it at the Starbucks in Curry if the Starbucks in Curry is still there also. So I know a lot of my friends used it on there. But in terms of studying, I actually really like just like studying my dorm. My roommate tended to be outside a lot, and so I got the dorm to myself, and now I'm in a single, so I'm definitely going to continue studying in my dorm. But in terms of like when I want to be outside or something, definitely like the Centennial is a good place to chill. There's like a table right outside of Ryder Hall. And in general, a lot of the buildings, like for East Village, you have the classrooms on the bottom floor when they're not in use that you can use to study. Especially in the winter, you have the tunnel system where there's some like underground like classrooms as well that you can use. Or just like cafes in the area if you find a cute one. Um, yeah, I don't know if that was helpful, but yeah, honestly, I don't know too many study places on campus just because I was only on campus for a semester and I pretty much just stayed in my dorm. But um, Kiana asks, how's the space in the dorms and the prices of single dorms? Also, can we use candles? I know this is a rule every year. Definitely no candles. You definitely don't ever really want to light a fire in your room, um, especially some of the older dorms. I know Smith, which is where I'm living, is super sensitive from what I've heard. And so, yeah, you definitely don't want to be the kid that sets off the fire alarm because you put on a candle or something. So I would definitely, not do that. But in terms of spaces in the dorms and the prices of single dorms aren't guaranteed really ever unless you're an upperclassman and you get like a raffle slot or a raffle number that's somewhat earlier, and so you can choose a single. But most people at that point choose an apartment style where they have like each of their own rooms and you just dorm with your friends so that you do have like a kitchen and like basically live in an apartment with your friends. But in terms of the prices, it is online, but for first year, it varies anywhere from like, I think either 3,000 or 4,000 something to like the most expensive is EV, which is like, I think 5,000 or 6,000 something. I know for upperclassmen, it's 6,000 something just because you often do apartment style, but I think for the doubles, it may be 5,000 something. Um, but yeah, in terms of the space, it depends. If you get a room like name that says like economy double or economy triple or anything like that, that's probably a smaller room. But a standard double or a standard triple or anything like that can actually get pretty big. Um, yeah, so you can kind of go off of that. But like mine is a standard single. It's honestly not bad. I very much enjoy it. I like living alone too. But I've seen the other standard like doubles and triples, at least in my building, which is Smith right now, and it's pretty big. And then in terms of East Village, it did feel kind of small. You didn't have too much movement space if both like of the roommates were in your dorm, just because it's like a room, it's split in half, and you basically just get the like walkway in between like your beds and stuff. But if you want, you can look at my dorm tour or something to see for East Village at least. But and then Gabby asked, do the dorms have mirrors? They do. You usually get, even if it's like not like East Village and like you don't have your own bathroom or something. They do have a small mirror, but if you, it's definitely not a full length mirror. So if you want one to like look at your outfits or something, I would definitely recommend getting a cheap one from like Target or something. But even for the ones that have private bathrooms, they tend to be just like half mirrors or a mirror over a sink. But yeah, you do get a mirror, and at the very least, there are half mirrors in the communal bathrooms as well. And then finally getting back to the question of like MassHealth. So if you don't already know, you are required to have insurance for Massachusetts schools in general. So if you go to school in Massachusetts, you are required to have insurance. And so because of that, Northeastern automatically enrolls you into something called NUSHP, which is Northeastern's insurance. It's like $2,099 or something a year. And it's not included in your cost of attendance. So if you're like financial aid kid and it doesn't get covered by your financial aid. It is a bit of a surprise sometimes. And so, but you are allowed to waive it if you have an equivalent. So if you do have like your parents' insurance or something and it is cheaper, you can definitely do that. Or oftentimes, if you um, are getting financial aid enough to the point where you also need some to cover that $2,099, oftentimes you are eligible for MassHealth, which is Massachusetts version of like Medicaid basically. But it's a really good program. And so to do that, though, you do need a Massachusetts mailing address to confirm that you live in Massachusetts. So if you haven't gotten your mailing address for your dorm yet, you're not going to really be able to do anything yet. But yeah, but don't worry because the waiver like deadline is a lot later for the insurance waiver for NUSHP. So don't worry about it, even if you get the mailing address once you're on campus. But basically, you can go to MassHealth. There is, I'm going to refer you to the first gen low income uh, for union that's on campus. They do a MassHealth like presentation thing on like how to do it every year. And so they already did it for this year. So if you want to be added to like their email list or something, they have a link of like the presentation and the recorded Zoom on there. I can ask them if I can post it on like a community post on YouTube or something, so you have access to that. Because they do go into a lot more specifics about how to like apply for MassHealth. But basically, you just want to go on the MassHealth site and you do have to make an account for like their connector login, and you can do it completely online if you want. They do recommend calling and completing the form if you can, just because then if you have any questions, you can ask as the person is helping you fill out like the MassHealth application. But basically, just put in information about your income and things like that, and then your mailing address, which has to be well, the mailing address doesn't technically have to be a Massachusetts address, but they are going to send mail to your specific Massachusetts address, so your dorm address that you'll get at some point. And you do have to confirm that you live there by receiving that piece of mail and then following the instructions on that mail. And then once you do that, once you have MassHealth, you just put in information to waive your NUSHP one, and MassHealth is completely free if you are eligible for it, so you don't have to pay anything for insurance, and it is an equivalent for NUSHP, so it does cover everything that NUSHP does. I don't know if that was a great explanation, but again, I'll ask the First Gen Low Income Union to see if I can put their links for like the presentation and the recorded Zoom meeting on my YouTube community. And so if you want to check that out later, I will ask them. Kiana says, last question. I'm a senior and I'm interested in pre-med at Northeastern. Do you know anyone in pre-med? Does it seem like a stressful experience at NEU? I don't think pre-med is any less stressful or more stressful at NEU compared to other schools, just because it's pre-med. And so no matter where you go, it is going to be stressful. I do actually know a lot of friends who are in pre-med and are on that track. And I haven't heard that it's any more or less stressful than it is at other schools. Um, I think the co-op can be possibly really helpful if you're a pre-med student and want to have experience like interning or working at a hospital or something med related to get some experience even before you have to do like your residency and things like that. But yeah, I haven't heard anything like that makes Northeastern necessarily harder for pre-med. If anything, I know a lot of pre-med students who do like combined majors and are on the pre-med track. So you have a lot of like flexibility with it, if that makes sense. So even though you want to be on the pre-med track, you can major in like something that you're interested in. I know a friend who is majoring in English, but she's on the pre-med track. And so, yeah, I think yeah, I don't know if there's anything specific about Northeastern that makes the pre-med experience different. Um, yeah, sorry that doesn't really help, but I hope it kind of answered your question. Um, and then let me see. what was the other thing I said I would cover? Oh, like things to bring to the dorm if you're interested. I'd say it depends on if you're flying in or driving up, just because it is super different based on that. Like obviously, if you're flying in, you can't fit as much. Okay, that's good. Sorry, Kiana, I don't really know as much about pre-med just because I'm literally a business major and definitely not in the pre-med track. I could never do that, um, but yeah, you can also. Oh, here, let me put the link to the Northeastern Reddit into the chat just because I personally found the Northeastern Reddit to be super helpful. If you've never been on Reddit, don't worry. It's very easy, like I guess it's technically social media to figure out, but it's super helpful. I use it and look at it all the time. But that's the link for it, and you can just go into it. You can see what other questions people have asked. There's mega threads for first years about housing and things like that that you can look through. I personally find Reddit to be super helpful on Northeastern for questions Northeastern related. But yeah, hopefully that helps. And I think I am going to end at 2 p.m. It's currently like 1:49, so basically 1:50, so like 11 more minutes. But if anyone has any more questions, feel free to ask. And if not, I'm just going to like keep talking about what to bring to Northeastern, just because at least for Northeastern students this year, moving move-in week is as usual from August 29th to September 5th. So some people are getting ready to like pack and move in. And so, yeah, it does depend kind of on your dorm, like what to bring and stuff. But it really also depends on whether you're flying in or driving up, just because you can't fit as much when you're flying in. But in general, you definitely want your basics like your towels, your bedding, your pillow, obviously your clothes, any toiletries and things like that. So like your shampoo, your conditioner, which also you can just get once you get here if you'd like. Like we have a Whole Foods near us. There's the Wollaston's, which is basically like our campus market, and then there's Symphony, which is like our little corner store, and then there's a Target if you walk a little bit further. Um, but yeah, you can definitely buy a lot of this stuff. I personally bought all of my stuff in terms of like dorm materials once I got to campus, just because I was flying in and so I couldn't fit that much. But you definitely still want to be like bring your essentials if you can. Um, yeah, give me 2 seconds. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Tiffany asks, I'm living in a suite this year. Do you have any advice on sharing bathroom cleaning responsibilities with suite mates? Um, well, first thing, you definitely want to talk about it and mention it. I feel like if you want to, we do, it's not technically super mandatory, but we do recommend it. You'll get an email about it once you move in during like the first few weeks, saying like you should do the roommate agreement, which is basically it's like a form that has a bunch of questions that you want to go over, like of what you agree upon to do as like roommates, whether it's like cleanings or like expectations of each other, and schedules and things like that. I would definitely, like, as awkward as it can get to like talk about certain things, like I don't know, like who's gonna do this, who's gonna pay for this, things like that. Definitely do it from the beginning and just get it all out. Because otherwise it may lead to problems in the future, and then it just becomes even more awkward to bring it up then. And so you do want to get all of that out of the way in the beginning. So bathroom cleaning responsibilities definitely a good thing to keep in mind. I'm glad you already know that you should probably go over that. Um, but in terms of suites, I would say probably like clean it like once a week or something. For me personally, we just had a suite mate who was like a bit of like a clean, not a freak, but like, what's that word for it? She was just super clean. And so she would honestly just do it half the time and like not really mention it. And so we didn't really have like specifically like who cleaned what, but it would be good to do that. And then one of the biggest things is just pushing communication. As awkward as it can be to like mention things sometimes, it's better than keeping it in, because then that leads to a lot of other conflicts. So my recommendation honestly is like making either a group chat that's specifically for like when you have problems with each other, or like making like, or getting like one of those like whiteboards, like small whiteboards or something, and then whenever anyone has a problem, they can like write it on the board, and then like it can be there for like the week or something, but then at the end of the week you have to find, by the end of the week you have to find time to like talk about it or something. But yeah, definitely. Sorry. John says, is the roommate agreement form something that Northeastern gives you? Yes. They'll email you the PDF of it. I think it actually might be a link. And so you can actually submit it so that it's like officially like, this is your roommate agreement. So that if like conflicts ever arise in the future and it's something that you had originally agreed upon, in a sense, it kind of works like receipts, and you can like have it as like proof of like, this is what we had agreed upon. So I do recommend, even if you don't like necessarily fill it out like completely like in detail, using those roommate agreement questions that are on that form to like figure out what to talk about. But in general, one of the main things to agree upon is that no matter how awkward it gets to bring up something, you need to bring it up, because it'll definitely lead to conflict otherwise. But if you also ever feel uncertain of how to bring it up or something, your RAs are there for a reason. And so definitely ask them for help if needed. Um, and then Catherine asked, do the dorms without AC get really hot? I'm gonna be honest, it gets super freaking hot. Boston is definitely cold most of the time when you're here, just because we move in the fall and then move out during the spring. But it can get really freaking hot during like the first 2 months when you're here. Right now, at least when I moved in, which was last week, starting Wednesday, we had a heat warning. And so I literally moved in on the day the heat warning started, just because that's like how the schedule worked out. It was so freaking hot, you guys. Like, I literally like just sweat dripping down, which even in Florida, I like don't often have that happen because I stay inside. um, but it's so hot. I don't know how everyone else is functioning. I think most people just like don't stay in their dorms a lot of the times. If you don't have AC, they'll like go to Curry or something and study and do stuff there because it's really freaking hot. Um, yeah, sorry, not to scare you. It does get cold pretty quickly, I'd say, especially for you guys since you move in at the end of August, starting the 29th. You'll probably only have to deal with the heat for like maybe a month, and it does get like cooler to a point where you can just like open the windows and you'll be fine. But if you're sensitive to the heat like me, especially if you have like specific conditions that maybe get worse during the heat, like asthma or something like that, definitely talk to the DRC, which is the Disability Resource Center, about getting an AC accommodation. Not to get too serious about having AC, but yeah. If anything, this is my first time actually living in a dorm that doesn't have AC, and I've asked around, and everyone said that they just took like a bunch of cold showers um, during that like first month, because it's just like so hot and they're sweating and it's like kind of gross. Um, but yeah, again, not to scare you, it only lasts like a month, but I hope that helped. Um, yeah, sorry, I'm just checking my Instagram because I'm low key getting some questions on my DMs. Um, but um, I don't know if that person is still on, but I did get a question about like the specific hooks that I used in my dorm last year. If anyone ever saw it on my dorm tour and stuff, and they asked if it did come off easily. It did not. I don't know if they ever actually got it off, but I didn't get penalized, so that was just like a lucky win. But I definitely recommend sticking to like command strips, which even those can sometimes peel off the paint, just because it may be an old dorm or something and the paint's been there like forever. But your RAs will often help they'll probably like get some paint for you or something for all of the residents and just like help you paint over it so that you can avoid like getting penalized. But if that was if that person's still here or if that was something anyone's curious about, and I'm actually going to end it at 2, so there are 2 more minutes if anyone has any more questions. But Catherine asked, did you do work study or know how to apply for one? I didn't do work study actually, but I did have the opportunity to if I want, or like it was on my financial aid if I wanted to do it. In terms of applying for it, there is a specific site for like work study and stuff. Honestly, it's harder to find work studies than I'd like it to be just because a lot of students, want the work studies and they're often given to like older students who have experience doing it sometimes. Um, so I don't have too many tips for you there other than just look around because especially now that everything's in person again, there are going to be like flyers up and stuff about any work study opportunities. Um, yeah, just checking the work study site. I don't know if you found it. I don't know if you have access to it yet on your like My Northeastern, but it should be under services and links if you do have access to it already. And it just like it's like the link is for like I don't know if it specifically says work study, but it is for like Northeastern like I think it does say work study. So if you go into that, it should show it. And you can look for work studies on there, or again, flyers will probably be your best bet. Or again, if you see the link that's on chat of like the Reddit Northeastern, I would look through there to see what other people have said. You can literally go like to the search bar at the top of that page or for like Northeastern and just search up like work study and it'll show you all of the questions that have been asked about work study specifically in that Northeastern Reddit, which I find really helpful. And I'm sure there's other students who've like asked the same question. So definitely would look through that. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful, but I really thought I would get a work study my first year or like even look for one, but I ended up being way too busy, so I ended up not doing a work study. But yeah. uh, Let me see. I will say though, there is one opportunity that I took advantage of, which was actually over the summer, but I did apply to be an orientation leader. And so I am an orientation leader right now. But that can also be covered by work study over the summer, although you just get paid. So I guess you can use your work study money to like, if you want Northeastern too, I guess. But they also just pay you. So it doesn't count as much as a work study. But anyway, sorry, that's rambling. Um, but hopefully that answered everyone's questions. I will give us like 30 more seconds to ask last minute questions if you have any. I hope this was helpful. I'm very sorry about the little Wi-Fi glitch in the middle of the live stream, but if no one has any more questions, I am going to end soon. I'll give us like 30 more seconds to figure it out, But for those who don't have any more questions, thank you so much for coming and like watching this and asking questions as well. Hopefully this was helpful. But yeah, if no one has any more questions. Okay, I'm going to end the live here. Thank you so much for coming out. I may do like an Instagram live or something at some point once the semester starts, maybe. But I will also be trying to be a lot more consistent with my videos as well. So hopefully those are helpful for the upcoming school year. But thank you. But thank you so much for coming out, and I hope this was helpful. I will leave it up on my channel, and so you can watch the recorded version as well if you missed anything. But thank you so much for coming out. Bye, everyone.